Welcome back to the channel, and as you can probably tell, this video will be about dismantling the engine. I'll be going through the whole process all the way down to splitting the crankcase, which took me a long time. And as a little bit of a disclaimer, everything here could be wrong, because this is my first time ever dismantling an engine, and I did not use the manual too much, so you know, keep that in mind. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm gonna check the clearances on the valves between the cams and the valve buckets. You want to keep these two pointing outwards like now, at least according to the manual, and that way the engine's in the top position, top dead center or something. And these valve clearances were pretty tight on this bike, so I may have to change something here. And also I should say that this is a spare engine that I actually got for free when I bought my bike. I thought it'd be better to try and dismantle this one first, so I don't, if I make any mistakes, I won't make it on the second one, the one that I actually had on my bike. But I was surprised to see what good condition this engine was in compared to, you know, how it looked from the outside. The inside, once I took off the top cover, you could see it's looking pretty nice, much better than what I was expecting. So anyways, this whole video is really gonna be me trying to figure out how to be able to split this crankcase, because like, it's a spoiler pretty much, but there was a screw that I forgot, and this whole time I'm filming this, I'm trying to take off as much as I can to, you know, figure out why the crankcase isn't splitting. So that's why you see me take off things like the alternator and the stator, while those don't really have to be removed. So try and keep this chain from dropping into the engine. I tie a little bit of steel wire on it. And here is the whole valve bucket. There's a shim that just sits pretty snugly in there, but using the magnet I was able to get it out, and you know, replace these if your measurements are out of spec. Next is taking off the whole top. This one went off without too much of a problem. Could basically just lift it up. So at this point I have no idea if there's anything wrong with this engine, or if it's, you know, how long ago it's been since it's been running, but yeah, the pistons aren't really looking too good. I mean, there's just a lot of dirt in there, but the cylinder walls are looking fine, so and it's turning over fine. So these are the spark plugs. I don't know really what to look for here, but to me they look fine. Here's how I've organized the parts. I use cardboard and I draw a little bit on it, markers, and as far as I'm told, it's pretty important to get everything back where it came from, like to the original cylinder. Now I could probably stop here, just taking off the top and cleaning up this valve block and the valves, but that'll probably be enough. But I wanted, you know, for learning's sake and curiosity, I just wanted to pull apart the whole engine. So I started hammering this off. And if you're gonna do this, do not use a metal hammer like I'm using here, because I did some damage to it, but it'll be fine. This one was a little bit harder to get off. I had to work with it for a while, as you can see here. When I finally got it off, I could see that there had been a lot of dirt and gasket material and stuff that had fallen into the crankcase. So, you know, at this point I had to open the crankcase just to wash it out and clean it up. So you should be aware of that when you're taking off the cylinders. I'm impressed by the state of the engine, so I decided that I'm gonna do a rebuild of this engine as well, so I have 2 usable engines. Here I'm dismantling everything from the timing ignition thing, and you don't have to take off all of these that I took off, but beware, the large screws are using Loctite and they were really hard to get out. I almost stripped both of them. By this point I'd already removed a lot of the screws to split the crankcase, but it wasn't splitting, so I was trying other things like this. The manual actually does say that you need to remove the alternator or if I remember correctly, something like that. So I was under the impression that maybe, you know, it wasn't splitting because there was something behind here. But you need a special tool to get this one off, and I didn't know this, so I wasn't able to get it off here. But off camera I purchased a new just special tool to be able to get this one off. So the clutch here is broken, it's missing a piece, and that's the former owner. He told me he did that, and he just replaced the clutch on this engine with the clutch on the other one, the clutch basket. So I'll have to get a new one of there if I'm gonna restore this engine to its full. Now this is what really threw me off with this engine and, you know, splitting the crankcase, the whole missing bolt thing. This oil pan was just stuck so completely on here that I had to use a knife to pry it open. So I thought, you know, that was probably the same thing with the crankcase, that, you know, all the bolts were out, but that it was, you know, glued in with silicone good enough. Turns out that wasn't the case. So here's as you can see above, what I'm doing right now is one of the engine bolts, or the crankcase bolts. Now this is just dismantling the oil pump. Again, not necessary if you're splitting the crankcase. It's nice to have a look at that the oil pump is, you know, working and that's not destroyed. So at this point all the bolts are out for the crankcase, and it's not splitting, or in my head at least all the bolts are out. So I tie it up like this, and I pried a little bit on it, and not too much, but I realized that, you know, there's something wrong here. So several weeks later I read somewhere on the forum that there's a bolt in here. So that's the missing bolt, that's the last bolt. And it's stupid too, because in the manual it's pretty clear. I mean, I don't know how I could have missed it. I did look in the manual though. I just took off the oil filter and thought that, you know, there's no bolt here, so it's clearly not this one. So with that bolt out, the crankcase just lifts right off. It's not stuck at all. And that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to be able to look at the gears and just, you know, see how it all works inside. And it looks good. Like, I couldn't find anything wrong with it, so I actually didn't go any further than this. I just, well, in the next video, you'll be able to see the next steps from here with this engine. Obviously, everything has to be cleaned. It has to be, you know, sanded down and spray painted again, so to make it look a little bit nicer. So that will probably be the next video coming up, and thank you for watching this one.